Roger. Go for deploy.
Alrighty, guys. Welcome back. Adventure Fit Radio. Today we have for you Ritchie Patterson. Ritchie is a man that I know pretty well because he was guest coach on our first two Adventure Fit holidays. At the time, he was a dual Olympian and a Commonwealth gold medalist. Now he's a three-time Olympian. He just went to Rio. He's one of New Zealand's greatest ever Olympians, greatest ever sportsman, really. And he's one of the great minds of weightlifting. He's super knowledgeable. We spent a couple of days out with him in Auckland. And, he's just a great guy. So you guys are going to have an absolute ball listening to this one. He's a character, Richie. And, so I hope you enjoy it. This show is brought to you by Carve, guys. Carve are a company in the Philippines that you go to get VA services. So if you want to outsource anything in your life, if you want to get rid of emails, if you want to get rid of your social media, if you want to get rid of your data collection, data processing, your newsletters, your anything that you don't like doing that you don't think creates a real dent in the big picture, then you can outsource that stuff. You can do it at a really cheap cost. So you can get full-time assistants, which I have 3, or you can get, and I've set a lot of my friends up and people that I know around the industry who are loving it. And you can also pay for time. So you can pay for 20 hours, you can pay for 30 hours, many different ways you can do it. So head to www.carve.ph/ADVF and get 10 hours free. Check them out. We are also brought to you by True Pride. True Pride, head to www.truepride.com.au/ADVF. True Pride are a wealth creation service. Book a call through the website and you will get your joining fee of $297 waived if you book through our link. Just give them a call, see if they can help you out, and go from there. Lastly, we're brought to you by Adventure Fit Travel. Now, what I want to talk about, and I've been harping on it a little bit lately, is our custom trips. So we have a rewards program that we offer to affiliate owners or large groups, basically. So if you're an affiliate owner out there and you feel like you can't get away on a holiday, you feel like it's a little bit too tight getting away from the box money-wise or time-wise, or you don't want to leave the community, so on and so forth, then email me, doc@adventurefittravel.com, because we have something for you. We have a system where affiliate owners can travel for free. All they need to do is get their community on board. So it's a great community building project. And, you get to choose where you want to go. We got a gym that's just chosen Koh Tao in Thailand. They want to train with Dimitri Klokov. So Dimitri's coming over. They've picked and chose all their activities and so forth, their timeline, time of year, time frame. Absolutely everything. It's their custom trip, and they're super pumped. So that's our last custom trip. We had a custom games trip last year, and we're talking to gyms all over the world. So if that's something that you're interested in, hit me up. Otherwise, head to www.adventurefittravel.com for everything else that we're doing. And here's Richie. Alrighty, guys, here we are. We are back with Adventure Fit Radio. Today we are talking to Ritchie Patterson, one of my favourite men I've ever heard talk about weightlifting. Before we throw to Ritchie, Tommy, can you seriously stop doing that? Before we throw to Ritchie, we're going to go to Tommy's tribute as usual. Here we go, Tommy's tribute.
Alrighty, Richie Patterson, welcome aboard, my friend. This is going to be Let It Be by the Beatles. When I find myself in times of trouble, well, Patterson, he comforts me. Speaking words of wisdom, Tom, you're a horrendous weightlifter. And in my hour of darkness, well, Richie stands right in front of me. Well, Tom, you'll never be as fucking good as me. He has been to the Com Games in Delhi. He won a silver at 85 kilos. Congratulations, Richie, that is beastly. Yeah, And now I find myself talking to you. I'm looking forward to picking your brain and your nose. Please speak words of wisdom, talk to me. Hello. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
You know, Richie won a gold medal at the Com Games, so
I thought it was
the
Oh yeah, that's true.
He gave you a nice mention for your silver, but I'm not sure that he was aware that you actually got at the top of the podium there, Richie.
Oh jeez. Sorry, Richard.
That's all right. I think they haven't done the updated Google search.
Yeah, that's right. I just looked it on Pornhub.
Richie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to finally get on.
Yeah. All right. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Richie, and what you got into the sport of weightlifting?
Okay. So I've been now part of weightlifting for 19 years. So it's pretty extensive time in the iron sport. Got into weightlifting. I was at boarding school. I was a rugby cricket player on a scholarship there, and got enticed to try Olympic lifting to help my rugby performance. Mm-hmm. And that ended up me breaking a number of New Zealand junior age group records. Played first 15 rugby for a couple of years and realised that really my future lay in weightlifting. I was kind of inspired. I was still at school when one of my mentors and one of my following coaches competed at the Sydney Olympics, Nigel Avery. And that kind of spurred me on to chase the Olympic dream. And the rest is history, really. It just all became a bit progressional and making different comps and improving on my results.
So did you have a clear goal in mind from when you started, or was it something like you said, like it's just very progressional and you just found yourself continuing to enjoy the sport?
No, there was a defining moment, which was that Sydney stage, and watching that was one, I want to become an Olympian. So then I went through a number of progressions as to what do I need to do to get there.
Yep.
And secondly, I've been a big fan of names, so like past champions. So in New Zealand, we've got a pretty rich history. You might not know the names in Australia, but your Don Olivers, your Precious McKenzie's. He came over from, obviously he went from South Africa to the UK and then to New Zealand. Very successful man in the sport. Your Tony Eberts, your John. So New Zealand's got a lot of rich history, and I always thought, what do I need to do to put my name in next to those names? And that was to become a Commonwealth champion. So 2 targets of the Commonwealth top of the podium and then the Olympian status as well.
Mm-hmm. And when did you start taking it really seriously, Richie? Was it when you were obviously you were breaking records at a young age? When did you first kind of grace an international platform, and when did it become your life rather than something that you were just good at?
Again, it all happened probably on the week of watching the Sydney Olympics. So I at school, I was making every excuse to get to the weight room. So I'd what was called sign out early in the morning. I'd be down at the school by about 6:30 or 7 in the weights room. And then at lunchtime, I'd be doing more weights. I'd be doing squats at lunch. I got given the key to the gym. So 6th and 7th form for me when I was at school, my last final years was all about weightlifting. Then I went on to study a coaching degree. So I planned it all around my athletic career. I extended my coaching degree out, and as soon as I left school, I was double day training, or continued that under at the time Richard Dryden, who was coaching Nigel Avery and the senior athletes. So I took it pretty seriously from about 17.
Yeah, right. Okay. So I remember we spoke in New Zealand, and you said that that your progression, and forgive me if I'm telling your story incorrectly, but you went through a stage where you tried to get to the top of your game without the right kind of. I think you used the analogy of the basement wasn't really built, so your strength base. And nowadays, I know for a fact that you're one of the strongest guys in the Commonwealth, if not the strongest. Like, what did your early training look like, and when did you realise that that you needed a really powerful base to get good in this sport?
Well, my early stages, we had my first year actually. We didn't have a coach. It was a bunch of seventh formers. There was a demonstration on stage, and my first experience of weightlifting was walking into a weights room and a bunch of 18-year-old boys jeering on a 15-year-old to put on as much weight as possible and see if he can get it above his head.
Yeah.
So it's not the best start. And then that year was really just basically what I call the program. You just go in and do what you feel like, and not much to coaching.
Yep. Max out every second day.
It's like, what's on the program? 80%. Oh, test you one rep max today.
Yeah.
It's close enough
We've
to 100.
all been there.
Yeah.
But so I didn't understand too much about programming. I didn't understand anything about technique at that point except get the bar above your head in the two different methods.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I left school, went under Dryden and what was predominantly the German macrocycle sort of methodology, periodization, because New Zealand weightlifting was heavily influenced by two German coaches, Walter Schultz and Gunther Renner in the 90s, and basically that's pretty much the knowledge base that went through New Zealand weightlifting coaches. So from basically leaving school through to 2006, my first Commonwealth Games, that's the methods that we used, and the technical methods that we used were ones inherited by the German system.
And what did for people that don't know the German system, obviously one of the famous systems is the Bulgarian system where they max out all the time. What's the general training principle behind the German system of weightlifting?
Well, really, it's just most sports systems are based off the German periodization model. Your early stages are preparatory stages, then you go to a max strength stage, you work into max power, and then you go into classical competition peaking. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of working off 12-week cycles where you wouldn't be doing, for example, the Bulgarian method, or what they call the SED principles, adaptation principle, is you're adapting to the movement. So you treat weightlifting as a skill, and the movement as a skill. So you practice the skill every day, whereas the German is you're looking at developing a strength base, so you're doing a lot of squatting and a lot of pulling and very little classical movements in the early stages. Then you max out your strength sort of stuff, and then you transfer that strength into power through the movements, and then you specialize in your final few weeks to drill the movements down. So you very rarely got to attempt big Olympic lifts in early stages. It was just a lot of strength based. So that's when you're saying that's when I really started to build a big foundation.
So, and how did you so with this German style of training, how did that transfer over into your performances in Delhi, your first Comp Games?
Well, after 2006, I placed fourth at the Melbourne Commonwealth Games. I missed my last lift for what would have been a silver medal.
All right.
And then New Zealand. So Richard stepped away from coaching me at that point, and I went under Nigel. And New Zealand weightlifting received a bit of funding, so we applied, sent out job application around the world, expression of interest for a New Zealand head coach position. And we eventually appointed Ari Moilanen, who was a Finnish coach who had an extensive knowledge of the SED principle, Bulgarian system, as we all like to call it. And that was completely left field from what we'd seen, but we employed Ari based on the Scandinavian anti-doping model because a lot of their lifters were subject to the same rigorous sort of testing that we were. So the methods of training would have to be that of an athlete that is doing it by the books. Yes. Which was important for me as well. And so then Ari came in and introduced us to this new method of training, and it was very left field. So I was training under Ari right through to Delhi, so 3 years during the initial stages of that Bulgarian method. Right. And yeah, totally different.
And how would you so what would you say you responded better to, or was it like it was kind of horses for courses, the German method was better in your early days and then it was okay to do the Bulgarian method, or how do you differentiate the two? Like what do you think's worked better for you or better for the masses? Or
I think as you said, horses for courses. So I was lucky enough to get the stages right. So I was introduced to this method which produces when you came over, I kept talking about building a house. You don't build a house, you build a foundation first. If you get the foundation right, your house is going to last longer. A lot of people come in and they build this house without laying the foundation work. And the house looks great for a little while until you have a bit of a storm or something goes wrong and it all falls down.
Yeah.
So laying the foundation with that early methodology was great, because then when I transitioned into aggressive training like the Bulgarian method, tendons, ligaments, awareness, structure, skeletal structure, all of that was really prepped to be able to handle a heavier intensity. So that was right. But then at the same time, I'm a competitive person. So the method of max appealed to me because it allowed me to test myself daily and weekly and more often. So you got this sense of reward on a regular basis.
So what would the contrast to the German method? So obviously the Bulgarian method, like you said, you get to test quite often. Now the German method, was that only testing in a lead up to a comp, or would you test bi-monthly, or how would it kind of look generally in way of like maxing out and really pushing yourself?
You'd push yourself, but you'd be in your early stages, you're pushing your tens and your volume squats. Then you're pushing your max squats mid-cycle, so you're looking at 6 to 4 weeks. Then you're testing your max power cleans towards the end, and then all that sort of stuff. And then really you're only maxing out your Olympic lifts towards the last few weeks. Yeah. So it came down to a hit and miss. Some days you have a magic comp and you do a PB by 10 kilos on the platform on your total or something. But other days you just have a complete bomb because you didn't quite get the peak right or something like that. I found with my training under the Bulgarian method, I was pretty close to hitting consistent numbers every comp. So that could be week after week, month after month. I was always nailing consistent numbers. It's a little it's hard to explain it exactly, but
I'm with you. Did it make it easier for you to go out and like set your openers and know what your lift number 2, lift number 3 would be when you had been on the Bulgarian method, where it was like regularly like, okay, I know that 3 out of 4 days I'm going to be able to hit this, and I've got this every single day, whereas it was so few and far between with the German method that it was maybe a little bit harder. Did it kind of work like that, or?
Yeah, it's exactly as you said. You build so much confidence. Like under the Bulgarian, I was snatching 150 every week. So I'd snatch 150, snatch 150. I'd open in the comp. I've done this hundreds of times. 150. It becomes a nothing number.
Yeah. Did this 11 times last week.
Yeah. Yeah. So you develop this ultimate confidence. And if you've ever watched any of the old Iron Mind ones, the Bulgarians they often won with their first or second lift.
Yeah, right. Interesting. So, okay.
Aren't traditional Bulgarian, I'm just thinking purely of the Smolov squat program. Isn't that like purely based on for people to be doing gear when you're doing that sort of stuff? Like, I've just heard amazing things about Bulgarian methods and Eastern European methods and stuff where it's just like they're not programmed for someone who, you know, is el natural. Like, how are you keeping up with the volume of training?
That's a good point. So, I originally went on, Ari did push me pretty aggressively into it. So I was doing 3 heavy weeks, 1 light week, and I made some initial gains on that. One, because I was lifting more often, so my rhythm and my position and my technique improved dramatically because of the amount of lifting and full classical lifting that I was doing. And then again, testing and pushing yourself through that method. But then I plateaued at that 150 snatch, kind of looking at mid-80s, 90 clean and jerk, 190, and I struggled to get past that point. From that, when I moved on from Ari after 2010, I continued the same sort of method, but I brought the training back to 2 heavy weeks, 1 light week. So that additional 3rd week I simply couldn't recover from, and that's where I was plateauing. So I adjusted the weeks to be a 3-week cycle, 2 heavy, 1 light. And then during the week, it's it's a bit weird, but I had this one encounter. I had a Chinese coach in New Zealand. I don't know if you've told him this before, this one, Bill, but there was this Chinese coach, and I was training by myself, and this daughter came in, and she asked if her dad could come and watch some weightlifting training. And I said, yeah, that's fine. And she said, oh, my dad doesn't speak English. And I said, oh, that's fine. He can sit in the corner and I can train. And then she went away, and she came back a couple of hours later, and she said, oh, my dad wants to show you some videos. And this Chinese coach whips open his computer, and he's the coach of the current 56 Olympic champion and the world record holder from China. I'm like, oh, crap, I've got the Chinese national.
Yeah. So it's just your average bloke.
But I talked to him through his daughter about the methods that I was using, the Bulgarian methods, and one that I wasn't doping, and he was quite impressed by that in itself. And he said the method of what you're doing, you need to have a better body awareness. You need to understand when you're fatigued or when you're being lazy, and you can't keep to a structured program, because on a Monday you might feel great, but it says let's say you're supposed to go to 90% on Monday, but you don't feel great. So he said make it movement orientated. So go to where you're consistently moving well, but if you don't feel flash, just make it about movement.
Yeah.
Tuesday, you're only supposed to go to 80%, but if you feel magic, go with it.
Yes.
So my training methodology became more about feeling. So I had this general overriding structure to my week and my weeks, but then it was very adaptable on every day. And then I practiced that for about 6 weeks from that, and my snatch went to in training 160. So I was plateaued on 150 for about 2 years. And within the manner of 6 weeks of training this sort of method, my snatch went up to 160, and I clean and jerked 200 in comp, but I dropped it behind me. My shoulders rolled and I dropped it. So I added about 10 kilos on both lifts within the period of 6 weeks from learning about my sort of recovery methods.
And what were some of those methods specifically?
Just recognizing each day, recognizing fatigue, recognizing movement. So I just made sure that I drilled movement perfect. You watch any of these lifters that aren't on the gear doing Bulgarian methods, often their lifts look horrible. They're just chasing numbers. They're diving at weights. They're missing. And I made it about consistency, so I wasn't allowed to miss in training anymore. And if I missed, I made the weights lighter, and I drilled the consistency with my technique, and that consistency carried over into successful lifts at higher weights.
See, that's something that I've always been fascinated with, is that transfer of consistently moving sort of your 80-85% and then being able to hit new PBs. I just feel that, like, wouldn't there reach a certain point where you go for those new PBs, and irrespective of how consistent you are with moving sub-max weight, it's just too heavy for you? Like, do you think it's good to have that feeling of heavy weight under the bar, moreover just being able to consistently move 85%?
Yeah, it's really important to attack heavy weights, but you've got to do it on days when it's going right.
Yeah.
Sometimes we say, look, let's go max right, and some people turn up and they look flat from the moment they walk in, and it's not going to happen, yet you force them to chase it. That's not going to work. Whereas you pick your days. When someone's on,
he's on.
It's on, and I let them go, and I just monitor it. Like, as a coach, I'm monitoring it, and I'm like, okay, and when an athlete's on, because they'll lift it. It's supposed to say stop there, but they'll just look over at you in the corner of the eye. There's kind of this, they don't say anything, but there's this bigging look. Heavier, and that's when you say okay, and you take control of it, and that's when the weights come and you get some good progress. Yeah,
and I guess like the frequency of on days is linearly proportionate to the amount of drugs they're taking, so it's probably it's good.
Yeah,
I've been on for 10 years.
You have to understand that whole method was developed around that.
Yeah.
So it can be used, what's called the Bulgarian method, or the SET principle, but it has to be heavily scaled and probably directed by someone that really, really knows their athlete.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing with Junior Smolov, wasn't it? Or was that just an idea, a gateway to Smolov for the squatting program?
Well, Smolov's more of a... it's not really a Bulgarian concept at all.
I was like, Junior Smolov, oh, yeah, sweet.
Yeah, nice, yeah. I think I was just throwing it out there.
Smaller was more of a Russian
yes. Yeah, I'm with you. Cool.
And that everyone did Smolov because it sounded cool. Everyone wanted to. CrossFitters went, I want to do Smolov because my mate's doing Smolov.
Because my mate's called Smolov.
You guys all thrashed yourself, and then you did your WODs with your wall balls, and then you all had knee issues afterwards.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
Richie, so why don't you tell us a little bit about you told us a little bit about your training. What about your time actually representing New Zealand on the platform? So you went to Delhi and you played second. Was that before your first Olympics? Did you go to the Olympics? Was it after Delhi?
No, so I went. My first major international, I went to Doha World Champs, 2005. I bombed, which wasn't a very nice experience, flying halfway around the world to bomb.
Yeah, 100%.
Then I was Melbourne Commonwealth Games, and then my first Olympics was Beijing 2008. That was an amazing experience in terms of Beijing. Put it on it's very hard to find Olympics that will be put on like that. So the Olympic experience was amazing. The weightlifting experience was horrible. I only got 2 lifts. I freaked out. It was a massive stage for me, and standing in front of the Olympic rings, I just didn't have the experience yet probably to be comfortable on that stage.
Yep.
So that then from there, my pinnacle event was supposed to be Delhi. I was supposed to win the gold medal there. I was unfortunately beaten by the Australian lifter, Simplice.
Yes, of course.
So Simplice, I got my second lift, and Simplice needed his third lift to beat me. He got his third lift, and then I had to get my last, and I missed the jerk. So,
killer.
Yeah, it's one of the hardest things as a Kiwi is standing on the silver podium to an Aussie.
Yeah, 100%. Especially after just missing the jerk on your last attempt. So how do you get your head around that kind of an ordeal, like getting so close to the gold medal? Did you have to have a bit of time to kind of relax and reflect when you got home, or were you just driven straight away, fuck this, I'm going to get straight back into training? I mean, obviously that's pretty crazy if that was the case, but how did you respond to getting so close to your dream and then just not getting there?
It was pretty hard. When you've been dreaming for the last, God knows how many years, 10 years of winning this gold medal, and you end up in silver, then you don't know if you're going to get another chance or not. So I was pretty hard on myself. Had a little, what they call POD, a bit of post-Olympic depression, even though it wasn't Olympic. It was post-pinnacle event, you'd say. So I hadn't really thought too much of my athletic career from that point. So all of a sudden you go out and have a few parties and a few too much of the good food and all that. So there's a little round of that, but I got into, at that point, making a good decision that I want to be a weightlifting coach now. So I stepped away from my coach, Ari. Prior to 2010, I was flying up to Finland and spending about 5 months a year up in Finland over summer. So I was full-time weightlifting. I was really lucky. I had sponsors in New Zealand, and Ari bought an apartment for me to live in Finland.
Wow.
So I had a lot of investment into me to be a full-time weightlifter. And then basically parted ways with Ari on good terms, lovely guy. He's put so much energy into me.
Yep.
And I started Functional Strength, which is my business now, and started to build a stable of athletes. And that is what pretty much continued my athletic career. I found a new passion in helping my athletes to the international platform, and then found an avenue where I can join them.
Alrighty, guys. Just a quick break in between our conversation with Richie to quickly touch on Carve again. Carve, guys, are a VA service. That's where I get Mon, Aaron, and Alvin. Alvin will be listening to this as we speak, as he edits the back end of our podcast. So what Alvin does, he does all the social media on our podcast. He edits the podcast. He does all the website work on our podcast, our show notes. Aaron deals with incoming leads. Aaron deals with our competition sponsorships all over the world. Mon runs the whole team, does absolutely everything. Basically, guys, I've outsourced everything in my business so that I don't do really any of the stuff that you need to do day to day to keep your business running. I oversee it. I don't have to do any of it. I still work crazy hours, but I get to work on bigger projects that'll grow the brand, grow Adventure Fit, and get us to where we want to be. So I've been able to do that by outsourcing with Carve, and it's changed my life. It's got more time back in my life. I get these guys for 120 hours per week, and it costs me very little comparatively to what it would cost me if I were not using a team in the Philippines. The guys get looked after well, so it's all good. Head to www.carve.ph/ADVF and get 10 hours free. Also, we're brought to you by True Pride. True Pride are a wealth creation service, guys, offering all ranges of wealth creation and ways to get ahead in your life. If you don't know what you want to do with budgeting or what you want to do with investing in some assets, if you already have assets and you want to diversify, True Pride are the team for you. Head to www.truepride.com.au/ADVF. Click the link on the website and book a call. Have a chat. See if they can help you guys out. If they can, and you want to go ahead, you get a $297 joining fee absolutely waived because you are a loyal listener. And here's back to the show. So, what happened when you started functional strength? Do you think did the fact that you had a bunch of athletes now under your wing, I suppose, did that? At the time, were you thinking, all right, this is going to take away from my training and hopefully I'll still be able to reach the Com Games and the Olympics? Or were you just like, all right, I'm going to put all my eggs into my athletes and my training comes second and I'll just play it by ear and see where I end up? Where was your head at when you were like making the decision to go from full-time athlete to, well, athlete, but more of or starting your coaching life?
Well, I was winging it for a little bit at the start. I was really lucky, actually. When my first athlete that I picked up, he walked through the door. He was with his dad, trialing different sports. He was an ex-gymnast and seeing his coach hurt himself, so he had a bit of a mental block. And he walked in. He was 12 years old, gymnast, great body awareness, and that was Cameron McTaggart. So I've been coaching him. Now he's 19, so 7 years. He's broken all my records now. Yeah. All my junior youth and whatever else.
Well, that's not good. You should roll him up in a cup and throw him up a bridge.
But to get really a super talent walk in on day one when you make that decision that you want to coach is it's pretty special. And
that's awesome.
So one, I was working with him, and then the next athlete that I picked up, I was actually that was 2010 was when I was introduced to CrossFit as well. Mm-hmm. So I was asked to go and run a course, just a one-day, couple-hour seminar or talk about weightlifting to a group of CrossFitters, and I was like, what the hell's CrossFit?
Yep.
And I walked in and
CrossFit.
there's about 40 athletes, 40 adults wanting to learn Olympic lifting, and I was like, what the hell are these people wanting to do this for? And I found this group of people that were super passionate about wanting to learn. And there was one young lady in that, and she was doing quite well. She was moving really well, and again, found out she was an ex-gymnast. And I was invited back to watch a CrossFit comp the week later at the same premises. And then she approached me to help her with some weightlifting coaching for CrossFit. And it was literally that day that I went, I could get this girl to the Commonwealth Games. Mm-hmm. So I set about trying to convince her to stop CrossFit and just do Olympic lifting. And I managed to do that eventually. She went to regionals, and that was Pip, who's now my wife.
Classic.
And,
it's been successful, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Why didn't you make Cameron McTaggart your wife? Hey, did you teach Cam how to do the backflip?
No, I've got no backflip skills at all. So,
you got gymnastics.
Yeah. I said Cam's only ever allowed to do the backflip if he gets 3 out of 3 in a New Zealand record. So it's a sort of a tradition of his.
Cam, when we went over to visit Richie on the first Adventure Fit trip, Richie was like, Richie did a bit of a presentation, and then there was a section where Richie was going to train. He was going to walk us through his training, and he also had Cam and the other guy that went to the Com Games, the other young guy that you had, Richie. What was his name?
Cody.
Cody, that's right. And Cody went to the Com Games as well. So we were watching, and Pip. So watching 4 Com Games athletes train in Richie's gym, and Cam walked in his school blazer. And ready to train, gets the bar out, and he was like, weighing, I don't know, maybe he'd just come from 69s or something, I think, at that stage. Richie, he might have been like mid 70 kilos, 72, I think. And he jerked, I think it was school too, like 16, 17. And he jerked, I believe, 152 kilos off the racks, something like that. I think you were telling me, Richie, his squat at the time was 140 or something. He jerked 152.
Oh, you're kidding?
He's a freak.
He can still do that. He jerked 183 the other day.
Yeah.
And he can't front squat that at all. So
that's incredible. But
God.
Yeah, cool. So and then all right, I'm kind of, I suppose, running this interview like a timeline, really. So once you you were coaching Pip, you wanted to get Pip to the Com Games. You were coaching Cam, you saw potential in him, and then at this point, you're still heavily in training, and was your goal to get back on the podium at the Com Games?
Yeah, so I went, I can get Pip to the Com Games, I'm going to join on. I'm going to jump back on the bandwagon and get to Glasgow and win a gold. And so that took me through to my second Olympics, London, which was pretty special, amazing. I actually performed a lot better, was quite comfortable, and you guys are probably figuring out, but there's still bands coming through. So every week now my placing's going up. It's quite nice. So I ended up, I'm currently 12th at London. Mm-hmm. And then that led me through to Glasgow, which was this pinnacle moment where I was going to win a gold. I basically said I'm just going to open on it. That's pretty much it. So I snatched. I ended up drawn with the Canadian in the snatch, and 1 kilo ahead of the Indian. And then I put a huge opener down on the start board. I never intended to open that heavy, but I was just playing a bit of a psychological game with them. So I knew what they were both capable of, and it wasn't anywhere close to what I put down for my opener.
Yep.
And then they went out 1 for 1 and kind of ran out of lift, and then I just dropped my opener right down on top of the Indian's last clean and jerk, and I missed my first jerk, and then I missed my second jerk. And, I guess I finally nailed that final jerk that I missed all those previous years to win the gold. So it was kind of a good ending.
That's awesome. So what about, say, take us through, tell us what's gone through your mind. This will tie in with like mental preparation for a big lift for anyone listening that might be a CrossFitter or a weightlifter or a powerlifter, getting yourself in a good mind frame. Because what must have been running through your mind when you had one lift to win the Commonwealth Games and you knew that you could get it? Like what backstage after you've missed your first two, how do you calm your nerves? What's going through your head?
It was pretty unique. Like there was no point that I thought I was going to miss it. I was out the back. I just reconfirmed. The word I said was execute. Mm-hmm. Just do like the way I was training. I was hitting that number every day. Like I could have hit that number that morning, no problem. It was just doing it at the right time and the right moment. So I went back, sat down, took a couple of breaths, just said execute, and went out. And I stand behind the platform. I don't change anything. That's probably the worst thing that you could do is all of a sudden feel like you need to do something different. You really don't. So I just ran through my same cues. I stepped on the platform. I run through a couple of technical cues or rhythm cues, step up to the bar and just execute. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So I didn't do anything special, and I felt like I was never going to miss it anyway. So
yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right. So, and then, so at this stage, you've got. I remember you telling me when we were over visiting that out of, I don't know, say there's 100 weightlifting records in New Zealand, senior and junior, your gym holds 40-50% of them or something crazy, right?
Yeah, I think at one stage we held 50% of all the New Zealand youth, junior and senior records. So we must be pretty close to that. There's been a couple of other gyms pick up now, which is great. And some of the junior records, but Cam's taken a few more of my junior records back again.
Yep.
That bastard.
Yeah. But we're doing pretty well. We've got a really good stable here, and they all work together, and they all got the international podium in the back of their heads that they're shooting for. So collectively, it's really weird. Weightlifting it's an individual sport, but it's very much an environment, a training environment that will get. Yeah.
So what do you do as obviously the leader of this environment? What are the things that you do to try and give your athletes that slight benefit in way of having strong training partners and just a really supportive atmosphere? Like, how do you get the best out of your athletes to make them as good as they are, basically? Can't be luck.
I guess it's me learning about their individual traits. I know some people respond to positivity, some people respond to a bit of discipline. Some people respond to $20 notes being thrown in front of them when they're going left.
When they're dancing on a pole.
It's all different. So I very much coach each individual as an individual and squeeze the best out of them that way. As a group, I'm all about positivity. People need to walk into the gym with the right attitude. If they don't, I pretty much send them back out and tell them to come back in again. And collectively, we're pushing each other. So it's just learning the things, little methods over the years that helped me as an athlete, and also what I didn't respond to an athlete. I trial them on people. I see if it works. If it doesn't work, I throw that one in the bin and try a different method. It's always evolving.
Mm-hmm.
So really, I've got the opportunity of coaching in retrospect. I'm giving them what I wish I'd had.
Yes, absolutely. So what about the old you hit this clean and jerk, I'll shout you burgers, you out squat me, you buy me lunch? Wasn't that one of your big kind of banter / training principles?
Yeah, we got some pretty big bets. I love to bet hard. Like if someone comes at me where they go, can I have a go at, say it's a PB, say it's 150 kilos, can I have a go at 150? I said, no, you're not allowed to have a go at 150. You're either going to do 150 or not. Okay, can I do 150? I'm like, well, what are you willing to put on it?
Yeah.
And they come at me with some pathetic bet. So I come back at them with a bigger bet, and then as soon as they hesitate, I said, well, you're not allowed to attempt it. And they said, why? And I said, because you hesitated. And I said, why do you hesitate? You said you're going to get it. There's no need to hesitate.
It's nice. You
don't even need to think about what I want to win if you miss, because you're not going to miss. So I need to see 100% commitment.
Mm-hmm.
They shouldn't matter what I bet on it. It should be already there.
Yeah.
Unless you're betting your unborn son.
So,
I'm a little bit nervous about this now.
We have these aggressive betting. But one day, Cody, when I was training in the evening, I was having a horrible day, and he said, I bet you my car that you can't do a 345 total. And my best total was 333. So that was a 12 kilo, and I hit a 150 snatch and clean jerk 195 at that training. And I took his car for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, that's classic.
That's great.
I sold it back to him for McDonald's.
Beautiful.
Shit,
So
I really want to. I want to go to this gym now.
It's
and
great.
Just bet my pants.
It's an awesome gym.
Yeah.
Because you do have a CrossFit studio right on the back end of the of functional strength. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I remember seeing Richie at the CrossFit Regionals three or four years ago at the Regionals.
Oh, really?
In the overhead squat event. The most of the Regionals was a 3RM overhead squat event.
And he was there.
Richie was competing.
He was competing, yeah.
And most people were like, at this stage, most people were like, overhead squatting like 70 kilograms, 80 kilograms. Richie was overhead squatting like 250 kilograms.
Yeah.
What?
But he couldn't do one rep of a wall ball.
How did you? Were you doing any CrossFit at that stage when you went to the regionals, or were you just like the strength guy?
I did the open. I do the open every year. It's just a bit of fun, but I don't do too much training. In fact, I didn't do any training for it. But we had a team. We qualified, and because regionals is quite heavy, we put me as a reserve because we really didn't have anyone capable of lifting kind of the weights that regionals produces.
Yep.
So we said, look, if we got an injury, then at least I can come in. I'll be able to move the weights without stuck on the first snatch or something like that. And then one of our guys unfortunately pulled out literally the week of, and I was like, oh crap.
There he is.
But the WODs weren't too hard. It was like burpee to muscle up, and then you only had to do one and then tag your mate, and then it was a 3-rep overhead squat. Yeah, and everyone was cleaning it and re-racking it and jerking it, and so I just snatched it.
How good is that? I bicep curled it and put it up. That's great. See, again, that just shows how much strength is king in CrossFit.
I believe that it's changed a little bit to there's a lot of more high-level gymnasticsy stuff. But,
Oh, yeah.
but we're talking to Richie about weightlifting anyway, so fuck off this. But so Richie, why don't you tell us about so now you've gone to the next Olympics and the recent Com Games. Am I doing is the timeline correct? If I say that,
I think, if we move past the Glasgow, so I've just this year attended my third Olympic Games, Rio, which was different. Again, each Olympic Games is unique in its own manner.
Yep.
I didn't have the best. I had a little bit of a shoulder issue, so I ended up not lifting really what I believed I was capable of. Still a respectable total, 15. And then now my next target is to go through to the Gold Coast, which will be my swan song, which will be my final.
So that would be your fourth or fifth Commonwealth Games?
It would be my fourth Commonwealth Games.
Yes, right. Yeah, that'd be awesome. So, I'll ask you this. So you finished 12th and 15th in the last couple of Olympic campaigns, but you're clearly, or you're a gold medalist. At your Olympic Games, you finished 12th and 15th, but you're a Commonwealth gold medalist. What differentiates Europe and Asia from obviously Pacific and America? Why are we so behind in the sport of weightlifting on the global sense?
There's really only, I believe, one answer, which is the methods that they're using. That's the big difference. That is the only. I believe if everyone was on a playing field, even playing field, you'd look at probably the leaders at the moment potentially would be the States, the numbers that they're producing from their young athletes, and then you'd have the Pacific and Australia and New Zealand as world leaders. I truly believe that the numbers that we're hitting clean would be world leading numbers if you had an even playing field.
Wow, isn't that sad? What do you think about the actual the state of the sport of weightlifting? Because obviously you know much more about it than me, but obviously in the 80s or early 90s, whenever it was, they changed the weight categories because of the rampant drug use, and then now from the retests in the last couple of Olympic Games, we've had 50 podium finishes, 50 medalists. It's not 50, but we've had 20, we've had 20 medalists that have been stripped. Ilya,
that's right.
Ilya is going to retire, and what's going on with the sport? Is there any way to? I'll ask you: is there any way to clean it up, or do you think that the future lies in a powerlifting system where there's drug free and there's drug tested and non-drug tested? What do you think is the answer?
It's a hard question. The answer really is probably zero tolerance. They're looking at introducing the Osaka rule again, if you're familiar with that, which is if you've received any ban over 6 months, you're not eligible to compete at the Olympic Games. Yep. So that would make a lot of athletes with Olympic aspirations all of a sudden think, well, what's the risk here? It's the risk versus reward. I've always been one for zero tolerance. If you get caught, you're gone. That's it. You're done. So that one initially would rein everybody back in straight away. And then, that would start to clean up pretty quick.
Yeah. I mean, what about the fact with the zero tolerance? I mean, how do you get around the tightness of sometimes obviously there's a supplement that wasn't supposed to have this substance in it and so on and so forth. I suppose you can leave that up to...
I swear that's mostly just... If you just create such a high, strict policy on it, people won't be making those mistakes again. Because I really feel a lot of those people are just kind of using that as an excuse to hide the fact they were actually trying to get some form of performance enhancer.
Yeah.
You'll always, if you make it zero tolerance, I would be going to companies that were supplementing with... The companies would then probably put stringent tests in place.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, there's a couple of companies that said, look, if you get caught, you can take us to court for $1 million.
Yeah.
Shit.
They're that confident that their product is clean and well tested.
Yeah.
Then it would just take the onus on the athlete to search out and be extra vigorous of what they're putting into their body.
And really, the onus is on the athlete all the time anyway. Like, it should be. It really should be. It's no one else's fault if you get caught with, like, oh, these poppy seeds made me test positive for fucking opiates. You know, it's just like, well, you know, you ate them.
Yeah. Stay away from the orange and poppy seed muffins, you idiot.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right.
I have too many of those.
Asking for trouble.
Yeah, probably get through a fair few.
Yeah, all right, cool. So what's next for you then, Richie? Like, what have you got any big goals with your gym, with your training yourself? Obviously, the Com Games is big on your horizon, but what's next? What's next for you?
So at the moment, I'm taking some time off. I just did the Commonwealth Championships, which was the first qualification event for Gold Coast to 18. I'll take first half of this year off coming. And just focus on. I've got a number of athletes that I'm trying to get to the Commonwealth Games as well. A few, obviously my younger lifters, but I've got a few experienced lifters that I'm just trying to squeeze more kilos out in the qualification events. So that's a priority this coming year. I also run. Well, I've got my gym, so it's making sure that that's working well, and the community here is all happy and growth, obviously. I also run corporate injury prevention, so I do sprains and strains management courses for groups, corporate environments, and then I'm also running posture and position, so workplace ergonomics and vehicle ergonomics as well. So I'm pretty busy.
Yeah, for sure. So if you hit all your kind of goals with your athletes, how many athletes are you realistically looking to qualify for the Commonwealth Games from your gym alone?
I've got about realistically 5, 6.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
That's crazy, isn't it?
So literally every athlete at the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, like we've got the potential to get 5 or 6.
Yeah.
If they hit what I'm progressionally planning them and they do it at the right time, then they'll get there. If it doesn't always go 100% to plan, but they're training hard.
For sure.
And now, New Zealand versus New Zealand versus New Zealand.
Yeah, awesome. Well,
versus Iran.
Well, Richie, we normally finish off with 6 from 6, which is 3 questions from me, 3 questions from Tommy, and then you can tell us where we can anything you need to plug or anything like that. But are you ready for 6 from 6?
Yep, I'll give it a go.
Alrighty.
Yep, I like it.
Good positivity there. I like the
right, yeah. So
like
blasé about it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, if you really want me to, if I have to.
That's right.
Okay, my first question is, what's your favourite travel destination on the planet? Favourite place you've been?
Probably Tonga when I was a child. We used to go there on a summer vacation. We had timeshares in a resort off Nuku'alofa, and yeah, I used to be the only white kid on the island, so it was pretty cool.
That's great.
Cool.
We've never had that, have we?
No, definitely not. Nice one. I'll say, okay, so my second question is your dream destination. Can be anywhere. What's at the top of your bucket list?
Yeah, it's a hard one, but I've always wanted to go to Athens and see the old Olympia and being an Olympian. That's the original home, so that's on the to-do list.
Awesome. Cool. That's a good one. My next question is, do you ever have any books that you like to recommend to people? It can be a graphic novel, it can be an autobiography, it can be a self-help or a coaching book, whatever. But do you have any books that you like to recommend?
I'm not a big reader, to be honest. I'm more of a listener than anything. So, the last book I read was the Lance Armstrong one, but that went all out the window, didn't
it? Yeah. Real motivational.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What about when you say a listener, do you listen to books or you listen to podcasts, or what do you mean by like?
I listen to podcasts, so weightlifting talk and what you guys do. Just I don't know, just the daily commute. You just put something on and learn. Every time I turn up to the gym, I'm running a class. I ask everyone what they learned for the day.
Oh,
so
really?
I ask what I call my daily gold. So I'm learning random facts of knowledge from everybody.
Yep.
And somehow I'll pull them out in a pub quiz at some point.
Yeah. So it's fair to say your answer to that question was favourite podcast is Adventure Radio.
Adventure Radio,
every morning.
yeah.
Good job.
Awesome. That's a good answer, man. A lot of people tend to say that, so yeah. Or else they die. Hey, biggest role model as a kid growing up?
Probably my dad. I grew up on a dairy farm on the peninsula, and my dad, well, I guess he taught me hard work. I thought hard work was what everyone did around the country, but obviously not as hard as what we were working.
Yep.
So that sort of instilled everything for me later in life. How hard I train is probably a byproduct of my upbringing.
Okay, cool. What do you like to do when you have some downtime or spare time?
I very rarely have any spare time, but I'm into my surfing. I've got a longboard, but I've just bought a big stand-up. I've got a new son. Obviously, he's 1.5 years old. So
1.5 years old.
What's that in pounds?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it's big enough. I bought it big enough that eventually he can stand on the front of it with me, and I can cruise around the bays.
Cool.
With my
Sick.
So that'll be my summer.
Yeah,
that'll be good. Where do you surf? Where's surfing around Auckland? Do you go? Is it Mount Maunganui and stuff have surf or?
Yeah, Mount's got, so that's a bit of a drive, but we would go north, and on a longboard, probably the eastern beaches. So Orewa was about 10 minutes drive from where I live. It's a nice break, and then further north to the national parks. So that's pretty good.
That's awesome. Cool.
And finally, Richo, if you could invite 3 people to dinner, dead or alive, who would they be and why? And apart from your family.
I'm a big political person at the moment, so probably the nature of this whole talk has been about it. So I'll probably invite that whistleblower at the moment, which is Grigory Rodchenkov, which is Moscow anti-doping head, or he was.
Yep. I actually thought you were going to say Donald Trump then.
No. And then I'd go with Thomas Bash as the IOC president.
Cool.
I don't know, and I'd throw Thomas Ajan, the IWF head, in there as well. I'd probably put them together and not have dinner with them, but I'd sit on be the fly on the wall and see what's happening.
Yeah, see what they all start talking about. That's pretty good. I like it. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on the show, Rich. Oh, finally. Anything you want to plug? Your social medias. Where can people find Richard Patterson?
I've got an athlete page, Ritchie Patterson on New Zealand Weightlifter. Otherwise, just follow our gym, Functional Strength Olympic.
Excellent.
And I post most of our videos up there, so you'll see all the upcoming athletes going on there. I don't post any videos of myself anymore. I'm past it. But, some of the young guys, I'm putting all their videos up, and the girls as well. So if you're into inspiration, then get on board with that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Richie.
All right, Richie. There. Thanks a lot for coming on the show, mate.
No worries.
Alrighty, and that's a wrap. Alrighty, guys. If you enjoyed that show, we appreciate it. What we do ask is that if you are a first-time listener, please subscribe. If you are a many-time listener, please leave us a rating and review. If you don't want to do either of those things, but you enjoyed the show, please tell a friend. Basically, we're going well with growth. We're growing by 30% per month, which is, I believe, breakneck speed, which is good. But we want to grow faster. We want to get more sponsors on board so we can make a real go of this, guys, because obviously it's still costing us money. We're not as financially viable as we would like. So we need your help to do that. So tell a friend, spread the word, send us a review, send us some money, send us some money if you can. No, but in all seriousness, everything that you do in those 3 call to actions I gave you really helps, because it helps share the word of Adventure Fit Radio. You guys are our loyal listeners, so tell a friend. Also, if there's anything in the show that you really want to go back to, head to our show notes, www.adventurefittravel.com/radio. Don't forget to check out carve.ph/ADVF. Get 10 hours free on any project. Also, truepride.com.au/ADVF. Get your $297 joining fee waived if you book a call through our link. And lastly, if you're an affiliate owner, you want to travel the world for free, email me directly, doc@adventurefittravel.com. I'll run you through exactly what we have for our rewards program. Suits affiliate owners down to a T. They travel for free. They get a community building exercise with their gym, something to get a buzz around, and everybody wins. So that's it from me. See you next week.
Discovery Roger, go for deploy.